I am here today with Naika Andre, and I'm so happy that you're here. We got connected by a mutual friend. I have to give
Yeah.
her a shout out. Marissa Renee Lee. She's awesome.
Yeah.
She's an author, she's a connector, and she brought us together. You should look for her book. It's called Grief is Love, and it's
Mhm.
wonderful. She's working on a second book now. She's a really cool individual. So anyway,
Yeah,
I'm
she's
so
very
happy that
special.
yeah, I'm really happy that you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to
Yeah.
be here.
So
Excited.
tell me about your foray into foster care and what that's been like for you, what it was like for you. Give us some background.
Yeah, so I got into foster care via Kinship foster care for my godson, who's also my cousin, my younger cousin. I have no background, or I don't even know anyone who's done fostering or has been through the adoption process, so all of this was very new to me. At the time, my aunt had some very serious mental health issues and was beginning to become a danger to herself and a danger to her son. And so my family and I had to sort of make the decision. I had to make the decision to step up in a major way, and that's how I became the foster mom for my godson.
Yeah, and how old was he at the time?
He was 10, and I was his foster mother for a year and a half until he transitioned full-time with his dad, his bio dad.
Okay. Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm so happy to have you on, especially because of a couple things. Like I haven't had anyone on yet who
Mhm.
hasn't actually gone to the adoption stage. And what I'm realizing now, it's funny, when I first created the show, it was like from foster to forever. And in my mind, I was thinking that that meant from foster to forever of
Mhm.
the adoption journey. But now, as I educate and as I talk to more people, I realize no, no, no. It's from foster to forever, wherever that path leads.
Right.
And so I'm
Right.
happy to bring in these stories, and I would love to talk about the reunification process and what that was like for you. But before we get into that,
Mhm.
what was it like for you to so you had were you living by yourself? Did you have a partner? Were you completely alone? Like how was it? Why was it you that was like, okay, I can do this? Like,
Mhm.
how did you know? Or
Well, so my foster son is my godson. I've been in his life since birth. His mother, asked me to be his godmother. At the time, I was living with my parents and my siblings, as well as my nephew and a cousin of mine. So we have a really big family.
Mhm.
And my foster son was actually living with us with his mom. And so the transition happened where we created a space for him, and then mom had to leave.
Mhm. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Mhm.
And had were you close with him?
I was, yeah,
Already? You were, like, already close
yeah.
with him. Okay, so that was
Since
easy.
yeah, since
Good.
the since birth.
Right. Right, right.
Yeah.
And how did he handle that? Like, when mom had to go away, what was that like?
I it's difficult for anybody to be without their mother, and I think as
Mhm.
a young boy of 10 years old, he had a lot of questions, and, kids that age don't really understand, mental illness, and so just trying to explain to him that, mom's away because she needs to get better,
Mhm.
and, we never mom wasn't an off topic or off subject kind of thing. We always spoke about her. We wanted to make sure that he knew that she was part of the family and that we love her and that she loves him. But it was very difficult. We did child play and there he had a therapist.
Mhm.
And so we had a lot of support and a lot of resources to help him process those emotions.
Sure, sure. And did he have visitations with her or with
He
any
did,
other family?
yep, he did early on until mom had to go away.
Okay. Okay. And
So
then,
he hasn't seen her for a little while.
gotcha, gotcha.
Mhm.
And was there any this is something, that I haven't spoken about on this show too much either, and, I'm curious because there's another dynamic when it's a family situation, a
Right,
kinship situation.
right.
Um, it brings in different feelings, different, positives and negatives, I'm sure. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, I mean, it was great that, he was going into the process with me as his godmother. We prior to the process even happening, we always spent a lot of time with each other. So, it just made sense that I was the second best person to care for him because I was that, sort of involved in his life already.
Sure.
And him being with me, I think it was exciting to him because as his godmother, like, I did a lot of fun things with him when he was with mom, and so, naturally, there was a sort of a continuation of that. He was still being with me and the rest of my family, he was still able to see, his cousins, his aunts, his uncles,
Right. Yes.
so that didn't change at all.
Right. And his school, he stayed in the same school and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, so I can
Correct,
imagine that
until
that is, so much better than being carted off to a completely different family, a
oh my
completely
god,
different
yeah,
everything, different
yeah.
situation.
I mean, prior to me or while I was getting my licensure, he was with, an aunt of mine for a month or so, so that we can, do all the things that we needed to do in order
Mhm.
to be in compliance for him to come back to us.
Sure, sure. Was your aunt already she was certified as a foster, person, or you mean his mom?
No, no, I mean another aunt of
Another
ours
aunt,
who
okay.
correct, who didn't have she had a s it was just her and her husband, and so
Aha.
she was able to there was less for her to do in order to come into
Gotcha,
compliance, whereas
gotcha.
myself, I lived with at least 7 family members, so we all sorta had to go through an application
Ah,
process and get
yes.
vetted, so
That's right, because for listeners who
mhm,
don't know, anyone who is in the home, needs to go through that process and get, FBI live scans, and
right,
did they have to do a home study and interview all the people in that were living in the
yes,
house and all of that kinda stuff? I can imagine that took
yep.
a while. How long did that take?
Oh, I think it took maybe 3 almost 3 months.
Mhm,
We also
mhm.
had a cat, so we wanted to make sure our cat was up to date with, her vet
Yep,
appointments,
sure.
and it was really like a project managing task for me just to make sure that everyone else is doing their part in
Right.
order so that we could speed up the licensure process.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Mhm.
That makes sense. And so you were really the one driving the ship, so to speak. Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
yeah. And was there ever any sense of sort of contention amongst his mom, or was she sort of happy to not happy, but like she knew that she needed to get help and she went to get help, or was it a struggle, a power dynamic in the family or
Uh
within that extended family?
Definitely a struggle. Mom was not because mom was not acknowledging of her mental health issues, and I think she's still not acknowledging
Uh-huh.
that, and so, she sort of felt like I was taking her son away from her, and that didn't feel good because we once had a really great relationship, and it was hard to sort of explain to her that we are doing this for the betterment of you and for the betterment
Mhm.
of your son. So
Mhm. Mhm.
it's felt like a battle,
Yeah. Yeah, I
you
can
know,
see that. I can see that. Yeah, that's the hard part. It's not like a when it's just a separate family that doesn't have
that
any.
you don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
That's a
right.
big difference. Um so what was it like to all of a sudden go from being just largely responsible for yourself to being responsible for a 10-year-old boy? What was that like for you?
It was a shock. It was very hard.
Yeah, I
I mean,
bet.
granted, I am grateful that I had the support of my family, but now suddenly have to I am running my own business. I was running my own business at the
Mhm.
time. That sort of took a back burner. Everything in my life took a back burner. I had to go on to prescribed anxiety medication.
Mhm.
It was a really difficult couple of years for me, and just
Mhm.
having to adjust. Yesterday I wasn't a mom, and then all of a sudden I'm a mom, and learning on the job.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so it was very difficult, a roller coaster for sure.
Sure. And did he have any special needs that needed to be attended to?
So he had some issues with asthma, and so we
Mhm.
were frequenting his doctors often. And then on the education front, we had to sort of set up I forget what the he needed some special
IEP?
attention.
An
IEP,
IEP.
yes.
Yeah.
And I never knew what that was, and
Mhm.
suddenly I'm in contact with, all the teachers at school,
Sure.
and, the school social worker and the principal, and there were a lot of moving parts,
Yeah.
a lot of different people. So a
Yeah,
lot. It
it's
was a lot all
incredible.
around.
Yes, all the
Yeah,
different appointments that you have to go to, and you don't really realize. I think a lot of people, I certainly didn't realize just how many appointments and specialists and social workers and people that you
right,
need to open your home up to,
right,
or get the child to those appointments
right.
and then always filling out the paperwork. Like it's not just bringing them to the appointment, it's that you need to document everything, and you really have to be
Absolutely.
somebody who's like uh, relatively organized.
Yes,
Did you
yeah.
were you that person anyway? Like, was that part easy for you, or because for me, no, I'm not like that organized. It was difficult.
I'm I'm a very much type A person, so I'm always writing notes. And during the process, I remember like I had a folder on my laptop. I had a physical folder. I had
Hmm.
all the forms. So I was really good at documenting and sort of keeping track of everything.
Oh, that's
Just
good.
I realized early on that it was very important to document what was being said,
Aha.
so that
Okay.
if anyone caught amnesia along the way, I have the notes. And
Yes, and that's a really good piece of it too.
Mhm.
Did you have to? So you appeared in court, I'm sure, to give updates from time to
So
time, or
so
not?
we during that time, court was virtual and over the phone, or
Okay, I see.
either over Zoom or over the phone, so I
Was
didn't
it
have
during
to physically go into.
the pandemic? Yeah.
Right, right.
And did you speak to the situation, or were you just kind of there, to answer questions if they were asked of you?
Both.
Yeah.
So they would ask, updates on how he's doing in school, how his medical history is
Mhm.
doing, socially. So I was always present and giving them an update and feedback on how he's doing.
Did you see changes after, mom went away? Were there changes, and what were those changes?
There were behavioral changes at school. Just him frustrated, doing things that, he's never done before. And so therapy really helped with that, and just having
Mhm.
him talk about his feelings.
Yeah.
And the school social worker and I became very acquainted.
Mhm.
So his school was a great support system. So,
Oh, that's great. That's great. And
mhm.
for you, the mental health piece, I think it's wonderful that you recognize that you needed to get some help also. Had you already had, what kind of supports did you have in place? And then what did you need to put in place to make sure that you were okay through the process?
Initially, the support that I had in place was just, my friend circle, just being able to call them and discuss what I was feeling. And then I realized that I need another layer, which is when I got a therapist, and
Mhm.
then she recommended a psychiatrist, who then it was with her that we decided that prescribed medications would
Mhm.
be the next step.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, good. Sometimes that's
Mhm.
really the way to go, and there's no, substitution. I speak from
Right, right.
experience,
Yes.
like, yeah,
And
sometimes
it's perfectly okay. It's perfectly
100%,
normal, perfectly fine.
100%.
Mhm.
Good for you. So what happened, I guess at a certain point, like how many months was he in foster care? And were you thinking after a while, I wonder if this is going to end in adoption, or what was that like?
I'd say he was in foster care for 12 months,
Okay.
that from, uh, a little longer than 12 months, a year and a half from when he moved with my aunt, and then, until reunification with dad.
Mhm.
And what was the other question?
And
I'm
had
sorry.
well, let me back up a little bit. Had dad
Mhm.
been in the picture the whole time or not?
Dad was in the picture, when he was much younger, and so
Okay.
he didn't really remember a relationship with dad, so he sort of
Mm,
had to be to him, he was a stranger, and so
got
that was
it.
another part of the process, um, them sort of getting to know each other, realizing how much they have in common,
Mhm.
um, and
He lived in the
making sure that
area?
he's comfortable.
Like, he lived
Yes.
close by, and the county,
Mhm.
I'm assuming, found him and said, "Hey, you need to," or right, like, "You need to
Correct,
come and, like."
or notified him of, what's going on in mom's
Yeah,
mental health situation,
got it.
and
Yeah.
of course, he wanted to help. He was not aware of any of this. So,
Right, right, right. And how was the child at that point with the dad? Like, I'm sure it took some getting used to, but they hit it off?
uh, confused, like,
Mhm.
who is this man? Confused and excited. Um, I would say those are the 2 major feelings that he felt,
Yeah.
but as soon as he got past the confusion,
Mhm.
it was excitement, and just I remember a specific conversation, or I think it was the 3 of us, and, he calls me Nenen, which means godmother in Creole. I'm Haitian, we're Haitian, and
Mhm.
so he was like, "Nenen, we have the look at our hands. We have the same hands, the same shape, the same
Mhm.
pattern, and the fingers bend the same way, and they
Mhm.
both like soccer," and so he really enjoys, his father, and his
Oh.
father really enjoys him.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's really
Yeah,
wonderful. That I'm sure it doesn't always go that way, so that's
right.
really positive. That's wonderful.
Yeah, we're very lucky.
Mhm. How did this experience change you? Did you can I mean, it's a big question, but I guess we'll start with,
Yeah.
after this experience, did you think about continuing to do any kind of foster care? Did you think about having children, adoption, anything like that? What was that like for you?
Well, I do want children in the future. Uh, the experience has changed me. It's made me, stronger. I think having gone through that experience, I understand the proverb, "It takes a village."
Mhm.
I understand, or I'm able to ask for help, and I'm not afraid to ask for help, or let my family and friends know that I need their support. As I said earlier, I'm a very type A person, very hyper independent, and so, it's allowed me to be more vulnerable, and so I can ask for more
Mm.
help.
Mhm.
Uh, it's it showed me how much courage and strength I have, and, one of my many purposes in this world, and so I'm grateful to have gone through that experience with
Yeah.
the little human that I went through it with.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's a
Mhm.
wonderful, enriching experience for both of you to have that,
Right.
and you'll always have that.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you still see him a lot?
I do. I was just with him, or I just dropped off his, clarinet at school yesterday. So I see him every week. It just depends on what's going on. Sometimes he spends the weekend with me. We talk often, and his dad and I co-parent. And
Nice.
so, yeah, it's we
What
have
does
a
that
good
look
setup.
like? Yeah, what does it look like?
So We'll sort of tag team for school. If there's a parent-teacher conference, we'll discuss among ourselves if we're able to go together, or he goes or
Mm,
I go. Um, I take him to soccer, practice games. Dad and I will sort of, communicate amongst ourselves and see what our schedule
mhm.
looks like. And so we're both very present in his life together. In addition to, he has a stepmom as well.
Okay, okay, great. That's
Mhm.
so great because I do believe in it takes a village. I really do,
Yeah,
and I think
yeah,
that's wonderful. And is so mom is really still out of the picture. She's not,
correct.
she's yeah, gotcha.
Still out the picture.
Yep, okay. And do you hold hope or do you would you are you in communication with her at all? Do you think there's a possibility for them to at some point have a relationship?
It is my hope that they will reconnect. I'm not sure when mom will come back into the picture. I mean, I'm a little nervous as to what she'll say.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure, but I'm very hopeful that they'll reconnect. I don't
Yeah.
know when, but
What she'll say about where she was or what she'll say about you or what she'll say about anything?
I think about anything and
Right.
how the entire process transpired, right? Like,
Mhm.
unfortunately, her son was removed from her care,
Mm.
and then placed with me, and so and just I imagine that she's saddened that she had to miss, so many years, and I pray and hope that she doesn't hold any resentfulness or animosity towards me, and that
Yeah.
we can go back to the way things once were prior to, mental health issues.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that for you too. I'll hold that as a
Thank you.
vision. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
I want to talk about what you do for a living.
Yeah.
And then I want to talk about how, like, what you do for a living it has been impacted by this
Mhm.
experience. So tell us, you're obviously an interior designer. That's your job, or you own an interior designer
Yes.
firm.
Correct. So
Okay.
I am the founder and principal designer of NJA Interiors. We are a residential firm that works with families to, design their home renovations, kitchen and baths, and we specialize in just infusing more joy
Mm-hmm.
into our families' lives. And so, having gone through this process, how that's impacted my career is I now know that I really want to work with foster families, having been through the process myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I can empathize with foster families, and I know the importance of a well designed home, especially going through that process from
Mm-hmm.
like the parents' point of view and the child's point of view. It's very important for both parents and the child to have a safe space, and I wanna
Yes.
create that for more families.
I love that. What does that look like? Starting
Yeah.
first with the for the child, and
Mhm.
then we'll move on to the parents.
Sure. So for any licensure, there is a safety checklist, and so that includes prepping the home. For the child, fire extinguishers, lockable storage, outlet covers, um, lots of different things. Coming from my line of work, there's a lot more other than the safety stuff, right? Like there's many ways to make a child feel safe. I think one of those ways is sort of creating a space where they can relax and feel comfortable, a
Mhm.
space that they can customize themselves. Maybe that means putting up their artwork or putting up pictures of their bio family. Um, Creating a space where they feel like they're part of the family, and those are some examples.
I love that. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a great that's great. Um, And obviously, I guess it would depend on their interests as well. Like, my daughter, she loves art, so we set her up with, like, a little
Yeah,
art station in her room so she can
absolutely.
do all her stuff, and yeah, and there's also, in her school, she goes to a Montessori school, and there's a peace corner, and she's been
Mhm.
asking us lately, because she fights with her little brother a lot, she's like, "We need a
Right.
peace corner," and, like, a peace
Oh
corner
my
is just
god, that's
like
awesome.
yeah, like a little place, it's, like, in their school, I think it's like a teepee or something, and it's got a soft rug, and it's got soft lighting, and you could just go in there if you need just a moment to be by yourself.
Yeah.
Peace
Yes.
corner, so, yeah, we're thinking about where we can put that and what that looks
Right.
like. Yep,
And
yep.
that probably doesn't take up too much space at all, you know?
No. No, not at all.
That's so smart.
Yeah,
I
keeping
li I
her
love
go ahead.
I was gonna say I love that they call it the peace corner, right? Like, everybody gets what that is, whether a
Right.
child or an adult.
I know, it makes me feel better, like, just saying it, I'm like, "Oh, a
Right.
peace
Let me go
corner.
into my peace
I
corner.
need a
Yeah.
peace corner. Where's
We
my
all
peace
do.
corner?"
Yes.
And then what about for the parents? Like, what are some of the things that parents need to feel safe and like they can function within a home?
Yeah. So
Or
I
I
was
shouldn't just say parents, I should say caregivers. Excuse me.
right, and
Mhm.
even the other family members within the home, I think it's
Yes.
important to create spaces, that are relaxing, maybe it's a meditation corner or a meditation room or some sort of space for a workout of some sort, either
Mhm.
yoga or singing bowl. So I think everyone in the home needs to have access to a space that in that manner.
Mhm. Mhm. I like that. You know, I was watching I was watching something or I can't remember where I saw it, but it sparked my mind about having a place when the child comes in from their day, just having
Right,
some place where like they put their backpack and the lunchbox comes out and it goes into the sink, just some sort of I don't know what you even call that. It's like some sort of a um
like a routine almost.
yes, like a routine with like a physical with physical places for things. Like they suggested putting a like on the wall you could put a slot for their papers so that when they
Right.
they get their papers out of their backpack they can stick them in there or like anything that needs to
Yeah.
go back to school. Do you
Yes.
ever do organizational things like that?
Absolutely, or even, like, cubbies, because they have that sort of system at
Yes.
school when they go into their
Yes.
classroom.
I love
Everybody
that.
has their cubby. I think that that's an easy system to implement into your home, and they have, different, systems that are attractive, and
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
that provides some stability and some structure for both the adults and the kids. They know that
Absolutely.
this is my cubby, this is where I put my things, and this
Mm-hmm.
is where I retrieve my things.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, we just started sort of doing that. We found
Mhm.
the greatest thing. It's a little thing. We got it on Amazon. It looks like a
Yeah.
piece of furniture, but when you open it, you can stick it doesn't have big enough spaces for adult shoes, but little kid shoes
Mhm.
fit in there perfect. And then you just close it up,
Yeah.
and then they always know where their shoes are, and their shoes aren't all over the floor because they take off their shoes
Yes.
as soon as they come in, and it's like super cute.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah.
I have a little shoe tower in my apartment, and both my godson and my nephew, there's always a couple slots that are open, and they love having a slot for themselves
Yeah.
where they could put their shoes.
That speaks to something too is like and that's why I love the cubby idea too is like
Yeah.
I'm finding both of my children like they really want like their own thing. They want just
Right.
their own space. They want their own
Yes.
stuff in their own space. So I
Right.
was just thinking for Christmas, like I want to get them new art supplies. And
Mhm.
instead of putting them all together like I have been doing, and they have very different needs. Like my one child is 8 and my other is 3.
Right.
So like the 3-year-old leaves all the tops off the markers and everything is
Mhm.
broken and like it's a total nightmare. And
Yeah.
he can't use like the stapler and the scissors and whatever. I'm gonna build them their own, and I hope they're not gonna listen to this before Christmas. They won't.
Mhm.
I'm gonna build them their own little art boxes with their names on it, and it's like this is
Yeah.
Izzy's art box. This is Dominic's. So that's just making me think of that. Yeah.
And I think kids like that intentionality. Like, you're actually going out of your way to create this thing, especially for them and nobody else,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. I think that's true. Another thing that I try to do, and I'm sure you probably did this, with
Mhm.
your, foster son is or, what do you what how should I refer to him? Foster son or,
So, he's my godson, we can call
your
him godson.
godson, I love that, that's so
Yes.
nice. Yeah, but we always do, like, mommy-daughter dates and, Dommy-daughter dates, my son is Dominic. So, like, just a
Mhm.
special time when it's just me and one of them. We do stuff together too, of course, but, like, just
Right,
that special, like, we're gonna go here, and it's something that they're interested in, and it's just the 2 of us, and my husband does it too. And
right.
it's really nice because they need that. They need that one-on-one sometimes.
They do, and then because you have 2 children, they sorta know, like, both mom and dad love them equally because we both do the same things with both
Right,
mom and dad
right,
on our own time.
right. Although my daughter would have
Mhm.
something to say about that. She's always like, "You love Dom more." And I think because he's littler, and so we are still picking him up all the time, and, it's hard,
Right.
it's hard. There's a big
Yeah.
gap there of 5 years, and those 5 years are, big ones at that age.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, would you, consider doing
Mhm.
foster care again?
I would.
Okay. Like,
I
even just
would.
outside of the family system, like, just, you know
Yep.
yeah.
I mean, of
Okay.
of course, it's a conversation to be had with my partner, but,
Mhm.
it's definitely something that I would do again. I think there are a lot of children that need safe spaces, and I know that's something that I can provide along with, love and care and support, and so I'd definitely be open to doing that again.
Right. Right. That's great.
Mhm.
I love that. What advice would you give to other people who might be interested in this?
I would say, remember your why. You're doing this for a special child, and remember that even when it gets hard, like, you're doing this for them, and at the end
Mhm.
of the day, they are going to be very grateful that you decided to, take them in and provide a loving home for them. I would also advise that you fortify your community, fortify your circle, and have, some people that you can really depend on and count on because you're gonna need
Mhm.
their support and their help. Um, it sometimes it feels like a lonely road, but there are others out there just like you, so if you don't have a community in place, not to worry, that you can develop that and sort of create
Right.
your own, even if it's through listening to podcasts and finding online communities. They exist, so not
Yes.
give up.
Absolutely. I've actually
Mhm.
found so much help in my online communities, and I think
Right,
that's a great suggestion because not everyone has a physical community anymore
right,
as much.
right.
Um, I think that's a great way to put it. And I also think there's something about um the knowing how to ask for help piece because I'm curious if you could even get more specific about what you
Yeah.
asked for help with, because I'm somebody that, like, I always did everything myself, and
Mhm.
like, it's very difficult for me to ask for help. It's easy for me to give help. Always, like,
Yes,
in there,
yes,
but, like, to ask
absolutely.
for is like, I don't even know what to ask for, like, sometimes, and
Right,
it sounds
right,
ridiculous, but it's like, I what? Like,
right.
is it like
I
drop
think
off,
it's
pick up, that kind of situation, or food, or what is it?
it's everything. Even the smaller things such as drop off, pick up, like, you can ask for assistance in that. Maybe that's, a close friend who does that, like, once a week,
Mhm.
and that could be, like, one morning.
Right.
That's still a big help. Um, just and I find that being able to talk about what's bothering you, um, will automatically whoever that you're talking to, depending on that person, you never know who they know or what
Mm.
resources they could extend. So, not being afraid to be vulnerable. You're not sharing too much, you're not complaining.
Right.
Um, And so the more vulnerable you are, the more you share, the more opportunities the world presents itself to help you.
So true. It's
Mhm.
really true. It's like Brene Brown. So, are you familiar with her work
Right?
in
Yes, I
vulnerability?
am.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much.
Yep.
Um, what else surprised you, or what, I don't know if I asked you this before, what surprised you about this whole journey?
I think what surprised me lots of things, right? I think how difficult it is. I think I thought because I was a family member that it wouldn't be as hard as it was or as much
Mhm.
of a roller coaster as it was. Another thing that surprised me is the strength of my godson. Like he was just 10 at the moment and I I still think he's like the strongest, most resilient kid in the world. Like he's gone through I told myself, "You know what? You should have a pack of tissues, like,
Aw.
ready."
Yeah.
I I just his resiliency and his zest for life is still intact regardless of all the things that he's been through, and that inspires me to keep going, you know?
Yeah. Yes. I know. I call my children my warrior children because
Yeah,
they've just been through so much. They're like the strongest people I know. You know,
right,
they're
right,
they're really incredible, incredible people. And
absolutely.
what a gift for your godson that he has you and that he has that
Thank you,
extended family. I mean, it
thank
really
you.
is. It makes all the difference in the
Yeah,
world.
he's a very special kid, and he deserves the world, and I will never stop fighting for him to have that.
I love that.
Mhm.
I think that's a great place to end unless there's anything else you want to share or talk about.
Yeah, I did wanna share, I think one of the questions that I loved,
Oh,
it's
yeah, I didn't
was
even look at the questions, and I can edit this part out. I'm just, like, having such a great time talking to you. I'm
it's
like, "Let's just
it's the
keep
last
talking."
one. Was there anything that felt meant to be in creating your
Oh, yes,
family
I
in
love
this
that
way?
question.
Yeah,
I
okay,
love
so
that
you
question.
do you wanna
Okay.
ask the question and I can answer?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so was there anything that felt meant to be about this whole journey? Because I always find that that is somehow always in every story, there's, like, a meant to be
Mhm.
aspect. Did you experience that?
Yes, I think in hindsight, um, like, God ordained me to sort of step into this role and be this person for my godson when his mother asked me to be his godmother, 13
Mm.
years ago. And so it's he knew that I'd have to step up in this way, and that's why he deemed me, like, worthy enough to be my godson's godmother because I'd have to, step in and be mom for a little while. So I think that's pretty, like, amazing.
I love that. And yeah, like you're really fulfilling or fulfilling still, you're co-parenting
Right.
that role. And that is
Yeah,
actually a
yeah.
big role. Like sometimes it's kind of like, oh yeah, he's the or but it's not
Yes,
like an
yes.
active thing, but you really have an
Right,
active role there. That's
right. And
beautiful.
I think a lot of I mean, myself, prior to stepping into this role, like, I just thought being a godmother was, like, this cool thing, and fun thing, but, really to be a godmother is or godparent is to step into the child's life in a major way if parents are not able to do so at any
That's
given
right.
time. That's a
Yeah,
big part of it
it
that's
is.
not sort of discussed or communicated.
Right. That's right. And did he have a godfather as well?
He does, he
Okay, and
does.
was the godfather involved?
Godfather lives, in Boston, and so we haven't
Okay.
seen him for a while, so
Part of the
Godfather's not
family,
involved.
or is he a friend or a family member?
He is a friend of mom's.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah,
Mhm,
because it's just interesting the dynamic too of that the godmother takes
mhm.
on, sometimes more responsibility or whatever than the godfather. as a
Right,
general,
right.
not like always, but,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a thing, a piece
Yes,
also.
yes,
Yeah. And how
absolutely.
wonderful actually for the child now that he has this positive role model with his dad though. Like that his
Mhm.
dad stepped up and was able to, you know, do that. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, cuz
That
women
was really, really,
yeah.
really special. And I think my godson's really lucky to have that relationship with his dad, and their relationship is great. He's
Yeah.
doing a really good job, and I'm happy that he has me to lean on, um, and vice versa.
Mhm. Are there any siblings involved? Like does the dad have any other children or anything like that?
Dad has older siblings,
Okay.
so my godson is actually an uncle,
Oh,
which is
really?
we joke about it often. He
Mhm.
has a niece that's, like, 2, and so, just having to be an uncle now is fun for him, and so dad
Yeah.
has older kids.
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's good. So it's still a
Yeah.
family affair.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. Do you have anything, any ideas moving back to I just thought I wanted to ask you about this before.
Yeah.
Moving back to your career,
Mhm.
is there a way, like, how can you integrate these 2 worlds now? Like, what do you have any ideas about that? Like, how you could actually because obviously you're running a business and you need to get paid, and I think, like, a
Right.
lot of the people who have these needs may not have the funding for that kind of thing. So, um, how could
Right.
you get involved?
So a big part of my, like, core values is giving back and paying it forward, and so, uh, I would happily volunteer my time, to sort of help foster families, whether it's, a couple hours or a consultation.
Mhm.
In the past, I've worked with an organization, called City Living, which is a New York-based nonprofit that helps um, foster children that have aged out of the system
Yes.
and
Yep.
sort of help them set them up for success, whether it's, helping them find an apartment or buying them shower curtains or,
Yep.
receiving donations from different companies. And so part of what I want to do is more volunteer hours.
Right. Yeah. I think a partnership could be great. There's a lot
Mhm.
of these, they're building a lot of homes actually now. They're
Right.
building a big community in California, and there's the Tulsa girls' home that I was just speaking to another guest, and she's very involved in
Mhm.
that. And they're building these really adorable tiny homes for these youth that are aging out. And
That's
I don't know, maybe
amazing.
I could like connect you guys in some way or
Yeah,
something because
absolutely.
yeah, it's just really good. And my heart goes out to those children that age out of the system and maybe never have had the benefit of any kind of family or
Right.
consistency in their life,
And
you
I
know?
I think of when I was 18, like, we're babies still, and having to suddenly
Totally.
be an adult at that age and not have any support is probably very, very difficult.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I know.
Yeah.
And especially now with the economy and how difficult it
Right.
is out there and how expensive everything is. Food is
Right.
expensive, like everything
Right.
is
Yeah.
expensive. Yeah.
Right. That's why these organizations are, like, super important,
Yep.
you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. How are you feeling? Like, do you
I feel
feel how is it to talk about this stuff? That's a question.
it feels good. I think had we woulda spoke about it maybe a month after reunification with dad, I'd be, like, a mess because I did
Right.
have to grieve not having my foster son as a foster son and,
Yes. Yes.
getting out of the routine that we perfected for, so long.
Right.
Um, but I feel good just having
Yeah.
seen how much he's grown and seeing how well he settled into his new life and that I'm still a part of his new life, like, I feel really good.
Yes. What was that like when it was like that first night or whatever? Like, okay, like now he's just gonna go with dad. What was that like?
It was hard. It felt like, I was losing a kid.
Mhm.
Um, it was really difficult. Just simple things as, like, not when I'd go shop for myself, I'd shop for him as well. Like, I'd stop in
Mhm.
the boys section and pick up something for him, and,
Mhm.
uh, just simple things like that. It was but I found comfort in knowing, like, he's a short 10-minute drive away,
Yeah.
and that he's with dad, and dad's giving him things that I would never have been able to give him. I'm a
Mhm.
woman, he's a
Mhm.
young boy, he needs his father in his life,
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
took a lot of comfort in that.
Right.
But it
Yeah.
was it was a difficult process.
Right. Yeah. No, I can imagine because they really like worm their way into your hearts, don't they? Like
Yes.
just into the
Yes, they
fiber
do.
and the fabric of your being. Like you
Yeah.
just
Every little morsel,
yep. Yep. You
is
can't
they're
you
part of
can't
you.
get away from it. And no matter where you are, I'm always like we're at whatever store I'm in or anything. Oh, Izzy would love this or
Yes.
oh, I gotta get these for
Yes.
yep. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, and so what that looks like these days is, "Oh, okay, he would love that. Let me put this somewhere in my mind for when I'm with him next, we'll still be able to do that thing together." It
Yeah.
just takes a lot more planning and
Right.
coordination.
Right, right, and now he
Mhm.
probably has, like, activities at, like,
Yeah,
what is he, like, 12 or something now, and he's got, like,
he's 13.
whatever it is, soccer or this and
Yeah.
that, and it becomes,
Yes.
like, all of the stuff that they that they do, which is great, but it's yeah,
Right.
it cuts down on the time that you can spend with them.
Right, and they're because they're older, they're not wanting to do all the things that they did with
Yes,
you when they were little, and so that's part of it too, just they're, like, growing before your eyes, it's
I
crazy.
know. It really is crazy, isn't it?
It's
Did it
like,
make
"Slow
you
down."
I know. Did it
Yeah.
make you look at your own trajectory and like, just how you grew up by watching this other little person, like, grow up in front of your eyes?
I never thought about that until now, but yeah, I mean, I think it forced me to grow up in a different kind of way because I was having to take care of him full time, and so,
Yeah.
in the best way possible, though.
Yep. Yep, yep. How do you mind asking me how old you were
Yeah, of course.
when how old were you when this occurred, like, when you first took this on?
So I'm 35, and, it was 3 years ago, so
Mhm.
32.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
so did a lot of your friends it probably not a lot of your friends had children yet, your
Correct.
social circle, all of a sudden things are very different for you, right?
Yes, yes, and, very different. I mean, I which is why sometimes I felt a little lonely. I do
Mhm.
have a friend who was a mom of 1 at the time, and so we spoke. I leaned to her for a lot of advice, but,
Yeah.
it felt lonely. I just felt like I was navigating this specific world on my
Yes.
own in that sense.
That's how I felt. That's one
Mhm.
of the reasons why I started this podcast, a big reason, is because I
Yeah,
felt just so first of all, we had most of all of our friends were artists, and a lot of them didn't have children. And so they
right,
just didn't have kids, and then or if they did, they had already had them and like were already like a little bit older. So we were
right,
so
right.
largely alone at first. Then some of our friends started having kids and it became more
Mhm.
fun. It's just easier and more fun when you're together with people who also have kids. Not that you don't love your friends that don't have kids, but it's
Right,
just such a
right,
different world,
right.
you know.
And even if your friends have children that are either much younger or much older,
Mhm.
that's also very different.
It's very different. It is
Mhm.
100%. Especially when you're in like the baby stage or like the little stages because I can't have a conversation still. It's hard.
Right,
I'm getting to be able to have a conversation with my 3-year-old around. But, it's hard. You're just, like, all over the place, and, if
Right,
you're with
right.
somebody who, like, doesn't have any kids at all and has never been there, they're kinda like,
They don't
okay."
understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like,
Maybe we should
Yeah.
reschedule.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's so funny the things that my husband and I often talk about how we used to see, like, kids having temper tantrums, and when we were, like, as they say, dinks, like, double income, no kids, and we would be out somewhere, and, like, some kid would be having a temper tantrum, and, like, my husband would be like, "God, they should be able to control that kid," and, like, all this stuff, and it's like,
Yeah,
"Oh my god." Now we're just like, "Don't worry about
the
it." Like,
tables have turned.
I'll go up to the parents and just be like, "We've got you, like, what do you need? Are you
Yeah,
good?" Like, it's such a yeah, it's nobody really understands how difficult it is and challenging on a daily basis, moment to moment. It's also
right.
amazing, but it is just really challenging to be responsible for somebody else all the
Yeah,
time
yep,
other than
and
yourself.
you're right, and your life sort of revolves around them. If the school nurse calls and they
Yep,
need you to pick up your kid right away, you have to stop whatever
you
you're
have
doing and
to.
go.
That's right.
Yeah, so
That's
you have
right.
to be very flexible.
Very flexible, and
Yeah,
that I always appreciate the people on the other end of whatever it was. I can always tell if they, like, have kids or not because they're, like, typically, if they have kids, they're like, "I get it.
more
Don't worry
understanding.
about it." Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yep.
true.
Yeah, it's true.
Mhm.
What else? Anything else that I'm missing? I feel like I could talk to you all day.
Oh, I know, this is great to have this this conversation
Yay,
with
I'm so
you.
glad.
Um, no, I mean, I don't know, I feel like we touched
I
on
know, let me look.
so
I'm
much.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a great conversation, but I don't wanna, like, cheat us out of anything else if there is anything else.
Right.
Um,
I'm also looking at the questions.
it's funny, I had the questions. Now oh, where are here they are. Here are they. Here they are. Specific to you. Oh, yeah, did you want to adopt? Yep. We talked about that.
Mhm.
Um Oh, I don't think I asked you how have your views or have your views on fostering, foster care, and adoption changed?
They have because I didn't know much about the foster care and adoption
Let me
system
ask that
prior
question
to.
again just so that,
Yeah,
like, it's
okay,
not
go ahead.
so in closing, I'm just curious, has your overall opinion of fostering, foster care, and adoption changed? And how has it changed since having this experience?
Definitely changed. One, because prior to being a foster mom, I knew nothing about foster care or adoption. And so just realizing how many children need a safe home and how important it is to provide a safe home. Um, it's something that is undervalued, adoption
Yeah,
and foster care.
agreed. Agreed.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's a real movement now towards, and rightfully so, towards reunification, and some people are actually like against adoption, which I think is sad because I think
Right.
sometimes, I mean, adoption outside of the family unit, and I do understand that, but sometimes it's not possible, and so I just think we have to have a big enough view for all situations, and every situation is unique,
Absolutely.
you know.
Absolutely. And everybody's family dynamic is different. It doesn't have to be bio mom and bio dad raising a child,
Right. That's
you
right.
know?
That's why you're such a great example of that you're co-parenting as godmom
Mhm.
with biodad. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's it's different, but it works.
Yeah.
It works, and he's very pleased. I think he sort of knows, like, "Oh, I don't think my dad's gonna like that, like, can you talk to my dad about it?" Or, vice
Yes.
versa.
Yes, yes. Something that my one of my very good friends, she co-parented her sister's
Mhm.
child, up until he became sort of like a teenager or whatever. And then she felt such a loss, and I'm not saying this
Yeah.
is gonna happen, but when he became interested in his own stuff and he's a teenager and everything, and they
Yeah.
suddenly didn't have, I mean, they still will always have that special connection, but she wasn't involved in
Right.
his life as much anymore. That was super difficult for her to
Yeah.
get
I
over.
I I can definitely relate to that. Not being the first one that the school calls, or not setting
Right.
up appointments, or,
Yeah.
just all of these things that she did for so long, and
Yeah.
that I did for so long.
Yep. Yeah.
It's takes time to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you seem like you're doing a great job of it. Seems
Thank
like
you.
you're super centered and,
Thank you.
yeah, I'm so grateful to you for coming on today and sharing your experiences.
Thank you for providing a platform in which I can do so. This is great. Like, I feel good. I'm happy to have met you, and to have conversations with you, and to now have you as a member of my personal community. I'm very
Absolutely.
grateful.
Yeah, I feel the same. Let's keep in touch for sure.
Absolutely. I'd love
All
that.
right. Thank you. And stick around. I'm gonna say goodbye, but you're gonna stick around for a minute, while
Okay.
we let it upload. Okay.
Okay.
And